Well, good morning. How are you? Today is Happy Sunday. We usually go to church, but my wife had to go away yesterday and she's really tired today. So I am blessed. I'm blessed if I go to church, but I'm blessed if I'm here and able to do episode 3 of Jaimie's wonderful, scary sailboat trip from Fort Lauderdale, Florida to England across the Atlantic Ocean. And I give her so much credit of being willing to do such an endeavor. I don't think I would. So anyway, she is just about to get going. And this episode 3 is titled Into the Abyss. As you know, the abyss, for those who don't, never been in the abyss, it's kind of like getting in the middle of a scary where and you don't know where you are and you don't know if you're upside down, right side up, so on and so forth. Anyway, okay. There's Jaimie. She's leaving Fort Lauderdale and she's saying, oh, this is a piece of cake. That's what she's saying. She talks a lot and she's smart. Anyway, the sun beat down mercilessly on Fort Lauderdale as Jaimie cast off the line, a mixture of excitement and trepidation churning in her stomach. It's like with anything, any type of trip like this, whether you go across the Pacific or you go across the Atlantic, you don't know what's going to happen. It could be like, we used to call it like a mirror when we'd go out in a boat and there'd be no waves and it would be beautiful. But that was unusual. Anyway, she spent weeks meticulously preparing for this moment, provisioning the sea serpent, double checking her charts and safety equipment, and bidding farewell to friends and family. Now, talking about charts for a minute, I was around boats and was blessed and went here and went there. Charts are like maps, and they just show a lot of information that you're going to want to know when you're at sea. Things that you don't expect to be where they are there, like little islands. You've got to ensure that you're working with aids to navigation, making sure you are going in the right direction. Now, all boats that are going to go anywhere have a compass. And on the chart, she is geared up, put forth the direction that she needs to sail in to ensure that she doesn't go astray. Devin Pasta, hi, welcome. Welcome. Hey, it's good to see your picture. So welcome, Devin. I love the names that I see these people. Okay, so she had bid farewell to all her family and friends. They're certainly worried. Should a Shih Tzu be, doing this? I'm not the one to judge this. But, this is a 10 episode point of where she is going to do everything she can to make sure she gets safely across the Atlantic to Great Britain. Devin, I am doing very well today. I want to thank you. I'm blessed, even though I'm not a young guy. I am usually doing well most days and enjoy so much what I do. And I'm always doing different things. Like I'm going to start writing a book on how to roast coffee. I was a coffee roaster and I had a coffee business by the name of Roasting Expectations. I started that in 2018, and I loved it. And unfortunately, when I moved over here to Naples from Davie, I sold the equipment. I wish I had not. Because at the time, and I'm sorry, I'm just giving you this as a point of some interest, hopefully, I was so busy with the generator business when I was over in Davie and still working. And I mean, that was more than a full-time job. It was my business. I'm out at least 6 days a week. So yes, I did do the coffee. I did build a coffee system, and I'll go through that. But anyway, it was fun. Okay, back to the story. Now alone on the deck, the vast Atlantic stretched before her, an endless expanse of blue, promising adventure and uncertainty, in equal measure. The first few hours, there she is, and it's a nice day, sales are up, and she's having a ball. She, as you can see, she even can put it on, I don't want to say, it's like an automatic pilot, but it will keep the heading correct so she doesn't end up in Africa. I give sailors credit, especially in this case, like she's by herself, and she's going to make sure everything's okay. Anyway, the first few hours were kind of idyllic, or nothing, no big deal. A steady breeze filled her sails, propelling the Sea Serpent, that's the name of the boat, eastward, with gentle swells rocking her like a cradle. Jaimie, ever vigilant, kept a close eye on the horizon, scanning for other vessels and noting the occasional pod of dolphins leaping playfully in the distance. Dolphins are wonderful animal. I think they're mammals, basically, but they're wonderful. They don't probably have a mean bone in their body. They don't hurt people. They certainly, where if she's seeing these, she wouldn't sit there and say, oh, I'm worried they're going to try to tip my sailboat over. No, they're just there. They just have fun. They're probably, not that I'm an authority on this, but they're probably the most fun-loving sea creatures in the world. And they're very, very smart. I know every day when I'm talking about different things, I say, hey, they're smart. Or whoever I'm talking about is smart. And I also say Jaimie's smart. And she is. And I know we sometimes think because they can't speak or, they're not smart. Well, they're smart. She revealed in the solitude the only sounds were the creak of the rigging and the gentle lapping of waves against the hull. As the afternoon wore on, however, the wind began to pick up and the sea grew very choppy. And this is, and I've had a boat, more than one boat. Shame on me, but I had a boat. And I have gone through storms. And I'm not like she is way out in the middle of nowhere. But it's scary because it can be so windy that it kind of throws you off where you have trouble steering the boat. And I remember one of the episodes, I had trouble seeing anything. And then lightning, and it's just, so I can identify with what she's going through. Anyway, dark clouds gathered on the horizon, casting an ominous shadow over the previously serene waters. Jaimie, though seasoned sailor, felt a knot of unease tighten in her chest. She reefed the sails. Now that means you bring them where, because if you put a sail up, you won't be tested on this, but if you put a sail up and you have nothing where you've just got the sail up, it's the full size of the sail. So whatever wind hits that sail is the wind that hits the sail. If you reef a sail, you're actually making this, in so many words, the sail a little bit smaller so that if it's really windy, it's not going to be as, scary and dangerous, if versus you left it just in a normal state. So anyway, she reefed the sails, preparing for the impending storm. Her senses on high alert. All of a sudden, what am I doing here? Okay. Sorry, we're having a little, as usual, technical difficulties. Anyway, hold on one sec there. Bear with me. Suddenly, a rogue wave, seemingly appearing out of nowhere, slammed the sea serpent, tossing the vessel about like a toy. Jaimie, caught off guard, was thrown against the bulkhead, her head striking the hard surface. Groaning, she fought back the dizziness and nausea, scrambling to regain her bearings. So, look at the storm. Now, the storm is in full fury, ranged around her. Rain lashed down, the visibility reduced to a mere feet. The sea serpent, battered by winds and waves, pitched and rolled violently. Jaimie, clinging to the helm, fought to maintain her control, her muscles screaming in protest. Just when she thought things couldn't get worse, a loud crack Anyway, I'm having a little trouble with a loud crack echoed through the storm. Now, the funny part, as an aside here, I have to prepare these, and sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not. Anyway, as she thought it wouldn't get worse, a loud crack echoed through the storm. The mainmast, struck by lightning, splintered and crashed onto the deck, narrowly missing Jaimie. This could have been the end. Panic surged through her. Without the mainmast, she was at the mercy of the storm, adrift and vulnerable. Hours crawled by, each one an eternity. Jaimie, battered and bruised, worked tirelessly to clear the wreckage and rig a makeshift sail. Exhaustion gnawed at her, but she dared not give in. And when you're by yourself and you're in the ocean, there aren't a lot of people around you. There aren't a lot of boats around you. I mean, you're seeing a picture here of when she was leaving. This was another sailboat going out who probably got into this same storm. She knew her survival depended on her resourcefulness and determination. As the first rays of dawn, this was an all-nighter. So as the dawn pierced the storm clouds, the wind finally began to subside. The sea, though still rough, was no longer the raging beast it had been. Jaimie slumped against the helm, her body aching, her spirit weary, allowed herself a moment of relief. Just a short moment. She had survived the night. But her ordeal was far from over. The sea serpent, damaged without a mainmast, was hundreds of miles from land. Jaimie alone, injured, faced a daunting challenge. Yet, as she gazed out of the vast ocean, a spark of defiance ignited in her eyes, and she would not be defeated. She would find a way to repair her sail. Now, determination is a key measurement of whether you just give up or instead you say, I'm not giving up and I'm going to survive. So she figured she could and would work to repair her ship to continue her journey to fulfill her dream. You know, in cases like this, Jaimie could have just said, because, you know, she was closer to where she left Fort Lauderdale than being closer to, in this case, England. And a lot of seafarers would say, I got into a storm at the very relative beginning of my trip, and my main mast broke. So it's like she could have, because all boats have radios on them. And the neatest thing, I used to be in ham radio. In fact, that's what you see when you see KK4JTW. That was my call sign for ham radio. If you ever have any questions on ham radio, it's fun. But all boats have that are going to be pretty much, you're supposed to have a radio. Now, what's neat about having a radio on a boat like this, in a situation like this, you've got a mast. The mast is tall. Putting whatever appropriate antenna on the mast gets you in the sense of a good potential signal. And there are different forms of radio, by the way, and that would be probably a topic for another discussion. But she could have, in this situation with the mast on the deck, which is good, because I mean, in some issues with sailboats and they break their mast, the mast gets in the water and they can't get it, they lose the mast. But she has it. So she's going to work on a temporary form of sail that will allow her to keep going. And then I started saying about the radio, she could, since, as I said, she was closer to Fort Lauderdale, she could have called the Coast Guard. and asked for an emergency, trip out by the Coast Guard. And in some cases, depending on the distance, they probably would be sending a helicopter. Now, admittedly, when someone is, I'm almost done here, when someone gets in a situation and they've made all these plans, I'm talking months of plans and equipment and learning and charts and getting the charts geared up so she knows where she's going with the compass. I know it's hard for anybody who gets in this situation to just say, I guess I'm not going to make it. So I'm going to need to call the Coast Guard and be retrieved from her boat. But as you saw at the very end of her thoughts, that she is still very determined to be successful. And in life, that's half the battle. So she's saying, I'm not giving up. So with episode 4, we will see what she's been able to do to what we call jury rig. That's a term meaning you kind of put something together and, thought that it was something that was important that she kept going. And, that's the epitome of life in general, is if you possibly can, don't give up. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm doing a lot of different things besides my YouTube activity. And that's partially why YouTube takes quite a while to get where you feel you're where you need to be, and that you start making a little bit of income. But you can easily give up, and a lot of people on YouTube just give up. And it's one of those things where you've got to just, like yesterday, I'll be the first one to admit, I was just kind of like feeling nothing was working right. But thank goodness, if you keep trying and you get to the next day like she did, you say, it's going to be okay. So that's just, I guess, a little word to the wise. We all have to just say, I'm not giving up, and I'm going to keep going. So I want to thank you very much for being here today. Devin Pasta, thank you for being here. And I sure hope you're doing well. And there we go. So have a wonderful rest of today. And thank you very, very much for being part of my channel. And then especially Devin, you made my day today. And thank you.